Hi, hello everyone. Okay, so let's be starting. That's 6 p.m. and that is the time for our webinar for today. My name is Olga Koval and I'm a methodologist at TalkEn.Cloud and Green Country ESL School Network. And today we will be talking with you about gamification. So let me start the presentation. So today we will discuss with you how and why we can use games in our lessons. Also, we will speak about some tips which will help us use games in the lessons more effectively, and we will see some examples. So I will show you some examples of games which will be suitable for different learning environments. So some of the examples which we will discuss today will be very useful and suitable for teachers who work online, also for teachers who work offline, for teachers who work with kids, teenagers, or adults who work in groups or with individual students. So I hope that the information today will be useful and applicable for all of you. Also, you can use chat on YouTube. And if you have any questions or you have any comments or you just want to share your ideas or your impressions or like some new ideas came up to your mind, so please share them with in the chat with us. It will help us make this webinar today even more effective and more useful for all of us. So please don't be shy, work actively in the chat, communicate with each other and communicate with me, because I will be able to see all your questions in the chat and all your comments as well. And before we start, I also would like to remind you about the certificates, because we often get a lot of questions on this topic. So once again, so let's try to refresh how you can get a certificate after the webinar. So first of all, step 1, you need to register for the webinar and you will receive the letter with the payment details for the certificate. So you will get this letter on your email. Then you will need to pay for the certificate and you will get a receipt. So please send this receipt to the website, or not to the website, I'm sorry, to the email address, which you can see on your screen. Yeah, you will get this information in your letter as well. But please do not forget to send your receipt to this email. And also for our partners, the certificate is free of charge. So if you are our partner, then you will not have to pay for the certificate. You can get it for free. Then after the webinar, you will receive a link to complete a test. So to get a certificate, you will need to complete a test and get 80+ points. Then this certificate will be sent to your email. Yeah, and you will be able to download it and save it. Okay, so I can see so many greetings in the chat. So we've got people from different cities of Ukraine, also from the USA. So thank you. And hello, everybody. Okay, and also before we start, I would like to tell you some information about our platform, TalkEn.Cloud platform. Where you can find some interactive textbooks and materials for you and for your students. So in this presentation, I will show you some examples of tasks and games from a textbook. So if you see a task from a textbook during this webinar, it means that it is taken from the materials on TalkEn.Cloud. Yeah, so if you are interested, if you like the materials, which you will see today, so I will show you a lot of examples of the games and some tasks. So not all of the games are taken from this platform, but all tasks from the book are taken from the TalkEn.Cloud materials. So if you are interested, if you like those materials, you can check them out on our website, TalkEn.Cloud. So there you will be able to find a large library with materials which can be used to teach kids, teenagers, and adults. Yeah, so you will find interactive textbooks for students of different age groups and different levels. And you will find all extra lesson materials for these textbooks. So in a textbook, all tasks are interactive, so you can use them in your lesson, and it means that your students will be able to complete all of those tasks online. So all tasks are interactive, and students can complete them online. They can check their answers, and they can see where they've got mistakes and which answers are correct. So there are different formats, different tasks there. In some tasks, students need to match up a picture and some words. There are some tasks where students need to fill in the gaps and type some words. They can also watch videos, listen to the audios, do some creative tasks of different formats, and it's all online, so all tasks are interactive. And also for each textbook on TalkEn.Cloud, you can find a lesson plan. In the lesson plan, you will find detailed information on what you can do in the lesson to make this lesson interesting and effective for your students. And also you will find links to extra games and extra materials which you can use in your lessons. So, for example, there are a lot of links to different online games like Kahoot, Quizlet. I will show you some examples today. And also, you will get access to extra presentations, videos, flashcards, etc. So, if you want to try these materials, then go to our website and check them out. Okay, and let's start with today's topic. And before we start, like the main part of this webinar, I want you to share your ideas. So I've got a small task for you. Now you can either scan the QR code, which you can see on the screen, or you can follow the link, which you will receive in the chat just in some seconds. Yeah, so you can see the link in the chat. So you can scan the code, or you can follow the link, which you can see in the chat, and you will need to type your answer to just one question, which you can see on the screen. What games do you use in your lessons? So you will be able to type only 3 games, names of 3 games. If you use a lot of games, just choose 3 favorite games and type them. And then when you are ready, please click submit, and we will see your answers on the screen. So let's see what games you use for your lessons. So you just need to scan the QR code or follow the link, type your answers, please click submit, and we will see your answers here on this slide. Okay, let's wait for a minute. Oh, wow. Okay. And I can see some answers already on the screen. Good. So 4 people have already submitted their answers. Great. So let's wait for others. Let's give you about 30 more seconds, and then we'll discuss what we've got here. Okay. So I can see that now Kahoot is winning. Kahoot and Bamboozled, Kahoot, and Wordsworld are your favorite games so far, as far as I can see. Also, some of you know how to use learning apps. Bingo, tic-tac-toe, okay. Bamboozle, quizzes, Mentimeter. Great. So by the way, we're using Mentimeter right now. So that is the name of the website. And if you like this format, if you use a word cloud like that in your lesson, you can go to the website, register, and you will be able to create tasks like that for free. Okay, great. Okay, so 10 more seconds and we will go on. Wonderful. So I can see so many great ideas here. So I know a lot of these games, but not all of them. So some games are new for me as well. So we will discuss some of them in today's webinar. And also, I suggest that you can take a photo or take a screenshot of this board. And then after the webinar, so today we will discuss some games, we will discuss some examples, which you can use in your lessons. And if after the webinar, you want to get even more ideas, you want to have more variety in your lessons and try out something new, then you will be able to use this screenshot, look at this photo, find some unknown games here, Google them, find out more information, and try to use them in your lesson. Okay, so thank you for your ideas. I hope that you've got a photo, a screenshot, and then you will use it for your lessons, for your lesson preparation after the webinar. Great, thank you. And let's go on. Okay. So, and first of all, so the name of this webinar is Gamification in ESL Lessons. So let's have a look and let's discuss what gamification is. Gamification is learning through play by using games with clear learning objectives or adding some game elements to the learning process, such as competition, prizes, challenges, etc. So today we are not going to discuss gamification, meaning that you can't use any traditional learning methods in your classroom. You need to use only games, and you need to replace all traditional tasks in the textbook with a game, and your students will just entertain the whole lesson. No, that's not about it, but it's about introducing and using some game elements in your lesson to make lesson more effective. So we're going to discuss the games with clear learning objectives, meaning that these games can help your students practice the language. So we're going to speak about games which can help your students develop their skills or improve their grammar and vocabulary knowledge. And we will also discuss some game elements which can be used throughout the term, for example, or throughout the academic year. So some so-called good traditions in your classroom, which can also help you make the learning process more effective. And let's think, so I could see, on the board that you use a lot of games in your lessons, and we will talk about games today. So let's discuss with you why. Why is it effective? Why our students can benefit from playing games in the lessons. And first of all, we can say that it enables active learning. So if your students play games in pairs or in small groups, it means that a lot of students are involved and are actively learning and practicing simultaneously. Also, games can help to increase intrinsic motivation of the students. So if a game is interesting for your students, they will be practicing, they will be improving their language, not because they have to do it, but because they really like the process. So first of all, they want to play this game and they will do it effectively because it's their desire. So they play it, so they practice English because it is interesting for them. So in this case, the learning will be more effective and the information will be more memorable for the students. Also, so you discussed soft skills with Alina last week, and games can help your students learn and develop soft skills as well. So they should have academic purposes, academic objectives, and also they can help develop and improve soft skills. So for example, creativity and creative thinking, or problem solving. So a lot of role plays help to develop and improve problem solving skills. Or also games can help your students become more curious if a part of a game is to find some interesting facts about a country or an animal or whatever. And one more skill, soft skill, which can be developed with the help of games is collaborative and teamwork. So a lot of games are played in teams or in pairs. And when your students know that they need to contribute to the work of the team, for the team to get a result or to win in this game, so they will feel more responsibility for the result, for the outcome. It will help them work more effectively, and also it will help them realize that, okay, so they can do something for their team. If their team wins, they will understand that, okay, it's because of me and because of my partners, so it can help to increase motivation and desire to learn in the future as well. It can help make learning more emotional, yeah, and also create an emotional connection between the material which is learned and the task which is done in the class or the game which is played. If the learning process has an emotional component, then the information is likely to be remembered better and more easily. And it can help reduce the stress level in the classroom. So when people are having fun, when people are laughing and doing some interesting things, they feel less under the pressure. They feel more relaxed, less stressed, and again, it helps to create a better learning environment in which students will be able to learn, practice, and remember new information more easily and effectively. So I hope that now everybody is convinced that games are useful for our lessons. And let's have a look at some types of games. Here we will discuss also some examples. So we will see some games which you can use in your lessons, and I will provide some examples of games which can be used both online and offline. So first of all, let's start with some examples of the games which can be played online. So a lot of these games were mentioned on the board, which I asked you to use at the beginning of the webinar. So let's have a look. We've got some games which were mentioned and some games which were not, so probably they will be new for some of you. And one of the most popular online games, that is Kahoot. Of course, so that's a wonderful tool. If you have never tried this website, if you have never played Kahoot in your lessons, please try it. Your students will be very pleased. So that's, I don't know, one of the best things when students play Kahoot for the first time and you can see their reaction, you can see how happy they are, how engaged they are in the process. So that's really, really great and inspiring. This game is very easy to use. It can be easily used to practice vocabulary and grammar, and it's an online quiz. So you can create your own game, or you can find a game on their website and you can use it for your students. So there are games on a lot of different topics, grammar, vocabulary, anything. And then you can start a live game, so you can play it live in your classroom. Your students will need to use their gadgets and they will need to join the game, following the instruction on the screen. And then when you start the game, they will see a question and from 2 to 4 answer options. And they will see these answer options on their gadgets as well. So on their gadgets, they will be able to choose the correct option and submit their answer. Then you will see the results on the screen and you will be able to give immediate feedback after each question. There is one more website. It's rather similar to Kahoot. It's called Quizzes. Yeah, you can see the names of these websites on the screen, so you can check them out after the webinar. And also after the webinar, you will get access to an article in which you will find links to all the tools which we are going to discuss today. So Quizzes, that's also an online quiz. Again, so students will need to join, they play, they submit their answers, and you will see the leaderboard on the screen. It's different because you will not see the answers as the students are playing, but you will see results only after all students finish the game. So when all students finish the game, you will be able to get a detailed report. Yeah, and you will see in which questions students made more mistakes, and you will be able to discuss them once again together. Bamboozled, okay, it was one of the, again, most popular game during the first task we got today. And it's one of my favorite games too. It can be used to practice basically anything. And it's very easy to create a game. So to create a game, you just need to type a question, any task which you want your students to do, and the answer. So you basically just type a question or a task and the answer, and that's it. Then you start a game, and you will be able to choose how many teams your students will be playing it. So for example, here we can see 2 teams. Then they will see the numbers. So team number 1 needs to choose the number they want. For example, let it be 6. You open task number 6, students see it on your screen, and they need to do it, give the answer. Then you check. If the answer is correct, you will add points to your students. If the answer is incorrect, you will not give points to your students. And also, there are some power-ups. So, for example, sometimes they can open a number and it will say that, okay, you lose 50 points, or you earn 100 points, or you can take some points from your partners from another team. So it's really fun, it's really easy to use and create, and your students don't need to use their gadgets to play. You just basically need one gadget, that's your screen, and you just need to show the game to your students, and that's it. So they don't need to join the game. There is also a wonderful site which is called Geopardy Labs. And this game, so on this website, you can create Geopardy games. So you will have, there will be some categories of the questions, of the tasks. So here you can see 5 categories, 5 topics. And they will be questions, so from the easiest ones to the most difficult ones. Questions for which students can get 100 points are the easiest, and questions for 500 points are the most difficult. Then again, your students play in teams, and they choose the category and the number. So for example, say clouds 300. You open this task, they will see a question. They will need to answer a question or complete a task. Then you check. If the answer is okay, you will add points to them. If the answer is incorrect, you will not add points to them. And you don't have to have 5 categories of questions and 5 questions in each category. You can have, for example, 3 categories and only 3 questions in each category. So you can decide it yourself, and you can easily create games like that online on this website. And Geopardy games are wonderful for revision lessons. So for example, in this term, you have had 5 topics with your students. So then you can take some tasks, like 1 task for each topic, which were, or 5 tasks, several tasks for each topic which was learned in this term. Yeah, and you can revise all of them in 1 lesson. And again, yeah, if you play Geopardy, your students don't need to join the game. You just need 1 gadget, just your screen on which you will show the game to your students. So one more great game, which again, a lot of teachers use this game. If you haven't tried it, please try. It's called Quizlet. And this game is more commonly used to practice vocabulary. It can also be used for grammar, but so more commonly, it's used for vocabulary and functional language. So here you can easily create some cards, flashcards with the vocabulary which you want your students to learn. And for example, on one side of the card, you will have a word. On another side of the card, you will get, so you can type a definition or add a picture or a translation of this word. Then you can play this game live during your lessons. So there are 2 options, Classic Live and Checkpoint. Again, your students need to join the game. On their gadgets, they will see a definition or a picture. They will need to choose the correct word. They will need to submit their answer. And if the answer is okay, so they will get another question. And there is one more game, one more website, which is called GymKid. So it's similar to Kahoot. It's also an online quiz which can be played live in the classroom. The students will need to join using their gadgets. But here you can get a bit more variety than on Kahoot. There are different design options and different game formats. Your students can also earn some points. and they can shop, they can buy some bonuses or some power-ups which they can use in the game. It's interesting, it's competitive, and helps to practice grammar, vocabulary really effectively and in an interesting and engaging way. On all these websites, you can create your own games with any material which your students are learning, or you can find some ready-made games and use them in your lesson. So, for example, if you want to have a Bamboozled game on the topic past simple, you can just go to Bamboozled. You can open the library which they have on the website, type past simple, and find a lot of games which you can use in your lessons for free. Yeah, and the same about all the websites which you can see on the screen. There are also some other useful websites which you can use in your lessons to add some game elements. Yeah, so to create some interesting interactive tasks and use them with your students. So, for example, Wordsworld, again, a lot of you mentioned these instruments, this website on the board. If you use Wordsworld, you can create so many different games like puzzles, crosswords, guess games, quizzes, memory games. Here you can also see, some crosswords, hangman game. So there are so many different formats there. So you can use it for free, but if you use it for free, you will be able to create only 5 games, only 5 tasks for your students. If you want more, then you will need to pay. But even 5 games, so that's fine. So it can also help you to make your lessons more interesting. One more tool, which is really great, I really love it because of its design and functionality, it's Genially. Here, there are so many different formats and different types of games. So you can create tic-tac-toe games here easily. So here on the screenshot, you can see an example of tic-tac-toe game. By the way, it's you can find the link to this game in the materials on the TalkEn.Cloud platform. It's from step 18, unit 88, block 3. Yeah, in your lesson plan, you will find the link to this game and you can use it in your lesson. Yeah, the same with all other games which you can see here. So the links to these games you will be able to find in the lesson plans on the TalkEn.Cloud platform. And here also we can create battleship games, we can create some board games, and there are so many other options. I will show you some more examples today, but that's a wonderful tool. You can also use this website to create some quizzes. Also, a hangman game is available there. And one more tool, that's learning apps. Also, some of you mentioned it today. Again, so a lot of different formats. You can use this website for free. You can create games for free. And you can create puzzles, crosswords, guess games, memory games, ordering tasks, and a lot of other tasks. So all these tasks can be used for online lessons or for offline lessons as well. You will just need to send a link to your students, so they will need to open it, and they will be able to complete all these tasks online on their gadget. So they will be able to type or to move the pictures or other elements to complete a task, and then they will be able to check their answers. So on all these websites, you can create interactive online tasks for your students. Okay, and let's also have a look at some websites, only 2 of them for today, which you can use to add some game elements to your lessons. So a wonderful tool is ClassDojo. It's a classroom management tool. So on this website, you can create your groups of students. So you can create your classes. You can use it for free. And so you need to register on this website that's called ClassDojo. So you need to create your teacher account and you can create your group. So you add the names of all your students in this group and you save it. Then you will be able to use this group on this website for each lesson you've got with them. It's kind of a register and also a classroom management tool. And you can add some points to your students using this tool. So there are different criteria here. So you can use the criteria to give extra points to your students, which are suggested on the website. Or you can also edit skills, and you can add some more skills for which you want to praise your students. So you can change this list. And you can decide with your students that, okay, if you work in team nicely, or if you work hard, or if you help others, you will get some extra points. Then, for example, if you collect 10 points, you will get a prize. So you can decide with your students what award you will be able to give them. But that's a wonderful tool to motivate your students. Also, there are a lot of other features on this website, and what I like, that's also a noise meter. So you can measure the noise level in your classroom, and you can agree with your students that, for example, it shouldn't be red. So we need to stick to this level, and then again, we will get a bonus, or it will be just more comfortable for us to work together. There are also so many other features there, so if you are interested, you can go to the website and you can check them out. And also a nice tool, which is really universal, that's a random wheel. So on this website, you can create a wheel with basically anything. So you can create a wheel with the names of your students to pick a random student to answer a question or to do a task. Or you can also type some questions here, and you can spin this wheel and pick a random question, which your students will discuss. So that's not actually a game, yeah, but it's a game element, which makes this discussion a little bit more interesting. So that's more exciting than just to discuss some questions which students have in the textbook, or some questions which you ask your students. Yeah, so it just makes this task a little bit more interesting. You can also add here some tasks as well. So anything you want to use in your lesson. Okay, so, and we have seen some examples of games which can be used for online lessons, yeah, which can be played online, but you can also use them for offline lessons. If you have internet access, and if your students have gadgets with them during your offline lesson, that's fine. So you can use any of these games for offline lessons as well. And now let's have a look at some games, at some examples of games which you can play in your offline lessons. And when we speak about games which can be played offline, usually they involve some movement. Yeah, and that's a huge advantage of working offline because your students can move in one space. And let's have a look at some game ideas. So a basketball game, that's a wonderful way actually to make any task in your lesson more interesting and engaging for your students. So you will just need to have a basket, or like 2 baskets, one for each team of your students. And you will need to have a ball. It can be a real ball, or you can use a paper ball, like anything. So your students will basically need to do a task. If their answer is correct, they will be allowed to throw the ball into the basket. If they score a goal, so it means that they earn 1 point for their team. The team which has more points in the end will win. And so speaking about the task, it can be absolutely anything. So in this picture, you can see that the teacher is holding some flashcards. Yeah, and the student needs to name the word, say the word, and if the word is correct, the student is allowed to throw the ball into the basket. So you can also ask your students to make sentences with these words, or you can ask them to complete some grammar tasks. Or also you can use this game element for other tasks. Like, for example, first of all, your students complete a reading task in a group. After that, you check this task. Yeah, and for each correct answer which a team got, you can allow them to throw a ball to the basket once, or maybe twice, as you want. So you can use this game element for any task you've got in your textbook, and it will instantly become more engaging and interesting. Okay, so the next one is Jenga. So that's very similar to basketball. It's just a game element which can easily be used in the classroom. Again, so students need to do a task. If their answer is correct, they can move one block and they can put it on the top of the tower. The idea is that they need not to ruin the tower. And the students can continue doing it one by one. Or you can also print out some cards or create some cards with the tasks you want your students to complete. So your students will take turns, pick a card, do a task on this card. If the answer is correct, they will move a block. Broken telephone. So it's a very, very common game, and it helps to practice vocabulary, pronunciation, and also listening skills. Your students will need to sit or stand in a line, and you will whisper a word or a sentence with the target grammar, or show a flashcard to one student, so the first student in the line. This student will need to whisper this word or sentence to the next student, and then they repeat it till the end of the line. The last person in the line needs to say or write the word or the sentence on the board. It's usually very fun. The students are really engaged, and it also helps to drill the new vocabulary once again, because they need to remember repeat the same word again and again. One more wonderful game. So this one is a classic. It's called Running Dictation. And I have tried it actually with students of all age groups. I have played this game with kids, with teenagers, with adults, and all of them really liked that. This game is wonderful to improve, help your students improve their spelling, also pronunciation, and also remember the vocabulary and the grammar better. So you can just stick cards with some sentences with the target language around the classroom. So try to make the sentences challenging for your students. So try to use longer sentences with some complicated words, especially in terms of spelling, and stick these cards around the classroom. Then your students will work in pairs. Also, it's possible to do as a team task, but usually it's played in pairs, and only one student in a pair is allowed to stand up and come up to one of the cards in the classroom. So this student needs to remember the sentence, then run back to the partner and dictate the sentence to the partner. The partner will need to listen and write down the sentence. Here, it's very important that the spelling is correct. And the first pair to finish and who has no mistakes wins this game. If you want both students in a pair to practice like both since writing and dictating the sentences, then after some cards, you can just ask them to swap, and then they will do another task. And one more very universal game so that's not actually a game, but it's a game element, again, which you can use in your classroom. So I actually don't know what the name of it. I call it mini board. And if you have some real mini boards in your classroom, then you are a very lucky teacher and you can use them. If you don't have, you can create them yourself. So you can just take a piece of paper in a file and you can give a marker to your students. So you give this mini board to your students, and then you ask them to complete a task. So for example, you show a flashcard to your students. They need to look at this flashcard and they need to write this word using a marker on this board. So when you give a signal, for example, clap your hands, after 10 or 30 seconds, all students will need to raise their board and you will check. The students who have the correct answer will get a bonus point. Then you will count them at the end of the game and you will see who wins. You can also use mini boards for some grammar tasks or sentence transformation. So you show a task like one sentence to your students, and you ask them, or you tell them, okay, you have 30 seconds to find and correct the mistake in the sentence, and you need to write down the whole sentence correctly on your mini board. And then you give them 30 seconds, they work in pairs, they do it, they raise their board, you check their answers, and you add points to the students who did it correctly. You can take any task from your textbook, and you can add this mini board element to it, and instantly it will become more interesting and engaging. I've had a group of teenagers so it was really difficult to make them write something. So they didn't want to do it at all. And that was the only way, which was really helpful. And when they were asked to write the same sentences, but on a mini board, and it was a game, okay, that was no problem anymore. Again, these game elements can be used for different tasks in different stages of your lessons. And also, there are a lot of games which are like more commonly used offline, but they can also be used online if we adjust them a little bit. So, for example, board games. Board games are traditionally played offline, and you give your students a board, you give them dice and counters, and they play and complete some tasks. But we can also adjust this game, and we can play it online. So here you can see an example. So this game was created on the Genially website, and it's the same game which you could see on your screen, the same game which can be played offline. So you ask your students, you send the link to your students, and you ask them to play in teams. You create breakout rooms for your students, and you ask one student in a team to share his or her screen. Then each student chooses the counter which they want, and they take their turns to roll the dice and move the counter. So, for example, I'm orange. My number is 6. So I go to number 6. I open the task, and I need to make a sentence with this phrase and one of the modal verbs here. So you can easily create a game with any content like that on this website. You can also add some pictures here. Okay. And this example is also taken from the TalkEn.Cloud platform. Or flashcards. Again, so traditionally flashcards are used for offline lessons. So we can play so many flashcard games with our students offline, but we can also play flashcard games online. And one example is What is Missing? So you can create a game of this format using any presentation. Or you can also use Jamboard or other tools for that. And I'll just show you one example. Okay. And then you will ask your students to remember the cards, remember the words which they can see on the screen. Then you go to the next slide and you ask them to name the card which is missing. Then the next slide, next. So one more card is missing on each next slide. It's really fun, it's really engaging, and it helps students remember the vocabulary very effectively. Or also races. So we can play, we can have some races offline. So for example, you give some first forms of irregular verbs to your students. So they need to remember the second and the third form, and they need to write them on the board as fast as they can. So the team who finishes first wins. But in online lesson, we can also use a game like that. And for example, we can use a wonderful website, which is called Jamboard. It's a Google tool. And you just give access to your students. So please don't forget to give access to anyone with the link to edit the document, then copy the link, send it to your students. They will work with their partners and they just need to type their answers here, or they can write, they can type, they can draw, and again, the team who finishes first will win. Yeah, so basically that's the same what we can do online. So we can also use games like that in our online lessons as well. Okay, so now we know what games we can use, but let's think how and when, in what part of a lesson we can do it. Okay. So games can be used as a leading activity. So before you start discussing a new topic, or before you read a text or listen to an audio on a topic, it's very important to raise your students' interest in the topic. So it's very important to make your students really interested and wanting to discuss this topic. And also, if your students are interested in the topic, they are more likely to complete the task more effectively. So there are a lot of options, a lot of things which you can use here. So you can use a word cloud, which you used with you at the beginning of the webinar. So for example, if you want your students to discuss or read a text about famous people, or about important people in someone's life. So before it, you can ask them to create a word cloud with the adjectives which they can use to describe a person who they admire. Again, so this website is called Mentimeter. You can use it for free, and this task will take just a couple of minutes, like 2 or 3. Yeah, but it will make the next task more interesting for your students. Also, before you start discussing the topic, you can ask your students to guess what is in the picture by opening small parts of it. Again, so this task is taken from the materials on the TalkEn.Cloud website, and this game looks like that. So you just start opening, you just need to use the animation on the slide, opening small parts of the picture, and the students will need to guess what's there, what is the boy doing. And then we can see that, okay, that's a birthday party. We are going to talk about birthday parties and parties in general with you today. Yeah, and the students will be engaged and ready to discuss the topic. Or also, there is one more nice task. So you can use tasks like that in your lessons as well. So you can have some pictures, and you can ask your students to guess a word or guess a sentence. And this word or this sentence will be connected to the topic which you're going to discuss today. So all these tasks take very little time, but they help make other tasks which you will have in your lessons more effective. Also, we can use games as revision and warm-up tasks. At the beginning of the lesson, you can use a game which will help your students revise the topic which was learned in the previous lesson. And if the game is interesting, if students are engaged, it will also help you set mood for the lesson. So your students, again, will be more engaged from the start. Yeah, and all other things you do in this lesson will be then automatically more interesting and more effective. So you can use different games for warm-up revision tasks. So actually, yeah, you can see some examples on the slide, but actually any games which we have discussed with you can be used for revision. So you can just spend 5-7 minutes, up to 10 minutes on a revision game at the beginning of the lesson. So you will not need so much time for that, but you will do 2 good things at a time. So first of all, you will revise the previous topic, and secondly, you will help your students get ready for the lesson and make the further work in this lesson more effective. Of course, we can use games to practice systems. So we can use games to help our students improve their grammar and vocabulary knowledge. So we can use games for controlled practice. For example, again, Kahoot, Quizlet, basketball, mini boards game, broken telephone. Basically, any game, almost any game which we have discussed with you can be used at the controlled practice stage. So when students need to complete some exercises on the topic. Yeah, of course, you might say that, okay, it's interesting, but it takes so much time. But if you have the same task in your textbook, so if you ask your students to do this task in a textbook, or if you transform this task into a game, it will not take longer. So it might take like 1 or 2 minutes longer because your students will need to join the game. But again, so in general, they will not spend more time playing the game rather than doing a very similar task in the textbook. So you can vary the formats which you use in your classroom. So you can ask your students to do some tasks in the textbook, and you can transform some other tasks from the textbook into games. So we can use games for less controlled practice, like, for example, a tic-tac-toe game can be used for less controlled practice. You can play this game offline or also online. I have shown you an example. And your students will see some words which they have learned. So they will need to pick one word, make a sentence with it. If the sentence is correct, they are allowed to put their symbol there. So it can be a note or a cross. If they have a line, like horizontal, vertical, or diagonal, they win this game. Also, battleships, again, so I'm sure you know how to play this game. It's a very popular one. So again, you can play this game online or offline. And we can use games for freer practice. Yeah, when we want our students to practice in a freer context, using the material which we are learning with them. And an example can be a Find Somebody Who game. Again, this game can be played offline, or it can be played online with just some adjustments. And here, like in this game, for example, students have some facts, and they need to interview their partners, and they need to find at least one person in the group about whom one of the facts is true. So ideal is they need to find one person for every fact in this task. And also, they need to ask extra questions. So first of all, they ask the question with the phrase they can see here, and then they need to make up and ask an extra question. So that's why this game is a freer practice game, because so they are not that limited that much. Yeah, so they can use any extra questions with any vocabulary and any grammar they know. And if you want to get more ideas of vocabulary and grammar games which you can use in your lessons, you can check out these wonderful books. There are books with grammar and vocabulary games for different levels. It's a series. There are elementary grammar games. So there is also a book, Intermediate Grammar Games, and Advanced grammar games, and the same with vocabulary games. Here you will find so many ideas, so many games which are photocopyable, or also you can transform them into online games. You will just find so many ideas here. And of course, yeah, we can use games to practice systems, and also we can use games to practice skills. So speaking about receptive skills, reading and listening, so it's not very common to use games to practice, improve reading and speaking skills, but still it's possible. So if your students are really bored and they don't want to read or complete listening tasks, it's just difficult, not interesting for them, you can try to add some game elements to this task. So for example, you can ask students to read a text or listen to an audio and make an illustration. Or as a leading task before a listening task, you can ask your students to watch a video, but without sound. So they will try to lip read, or they will try to guess what might be happening in this video. And then you will watch this video with sound, and the students will guess their predictions. Or you can also use movements. So while students are reading the text, you can just allow them to stand up and walk around the classroom if they want. Or you can ask them to find any place in the classroom where they want to be while reading. Or if it's an online lesson, yeah, you can allow your students to go anywhere they want in their house or flat and read a text for a minute there. Then they will need to come back and you will discuss and do some tasks on it. It's not a game again, but it's a game element which can make this task more effective for your students. And of course, we can use different games to practice and improve productive skills, writing and speaking. So you can see an example here, like students need to pick one picture and they will need to describe it to the partner and the partner will need to guess what it is. Or also students can ask each other questions to guess what picture the partner has. So there are like some more examples here. It's very fun. So for creative writing, you can use this wonderful website. It's called Random Word Generator, and you can generate some random pictures here. So for example, you can generate 3 random pictures. You will show them to your students, and their task will be to make a short story using the target vocabulary and grammar. And this story needs to be related to these pictures somehow. So it's usually really fun and interesting. Or you can generate just one picture and ask your students to make a sentence about this picture using the grammar, vocabulary, and grammar. And there is one more book, which is called Communication Games. Yeah, it's the same author, the same publishing house. And in this book, you will find different ideas for speaking games, which you can use in your lessons. And of course, we can use games as homework. So homework doesn't have to be boring and difficult for your students. It can also be interesting. And you know that you can play Kahoot games online, like live with your students during the lesson, but you can also assign Kahoot games to your students as homework. So when you create a game or when you copy another game, a game which was created by another teacher, but you copy this game to your account, then you will have 2 options. You can start a live game or you can click assign. And you will create an assignment. So you will get a link to this game, which you will send to your students. They will be able to follow this link and play this game individually on their phone at any time they want. After that, you will see all their results. So you will see the statistics on your Kahoot account. You can use Quizlet. So we can play Quizlet live, or we can also assign a matching game as homework for our students. So you will send a link to the Quizlet cards, like to the set of cards to your students. And they will need to choose the matching mode, and they need to match the word and a picture or a definition. And after that, they can take a screenshot. So you will see how much time it took them. And during the next lesson, you will announce who is the winner, who managed to do it the fastest. And you can add some extra points for the student. Wordsworld also, you can use any Wordsworld task, any format on Wordsworld as a homework task for your students. Again, you just send a link to your students and they will be able to complete this task at home as their homework. Again, you can take any task from the textbook, you can adjust, you can create a game and give it for your students as homework. It will not take you so much time, but it will be more interesting for your students to complete homework like that than to do the same task in their textbook. Or you can also ask your students to create a game for the next lesson. Also, there are some games actually which require no resources at all. And if you don't have so much time to prepare for the next lesson, or you have an unexpected lesson, you can just choose any of these games and you can play them with no preparation. So, for example, you can play alias or charades game at any time. So you just ask your students to explain some words which you learned with them to their partners, and partners will need to guess what word it is. Or you can use a hangman game. Again, you can play it online or offline, just using your board. And your students will try to guess the word by naming some letters. And if they guess the words, then they rescue the person. So a miming game, which is really similar to alias or charades, but your students will need to mime the words. And a fun game, which like not that many teachers know, that's a banana game. You will ask your students, open the word list which we used in the previous lesson. Choose 3 the most difficult words for you and make up 3 sentences with them. So 1 sentence with each difficult word. Write down your sentences on a piece of paper. After that, put students in pairs or in teams and ask students to read the sentences to each other one by one, but instead of the word from the list, they will need to say banana. So for example, I watch banana every day because it's entertaining for me. Yeah, and my partner will need to guess what banana is. So in this case, that's films. Again, you don't need to be prepared for this game. You just ask your students to make some sentences and play it. Okay, and also, let's look at some game elements which we can use not only in our lessons, but also throughout a year or throughout a semester. And we can make the learning environment more engaging for our students. So we can use some challenges. So for example, you can create some challenges for your students. So some examples are on the screen, but basically you can use anything. So a challenge can be like everybody speaks only English in our classroom for 1 week, or everybody does homework, or all students in the class get a higher test mark the next time we have a test. Or just we try hard together and we keep the classroom clean during the whole week. And when your students complete a challenge, you can reward them with some prizes. So it can be anything like, okay, we will have a party if you manage to do it. Or we can play one more Kahoot game in our lessons, or like you can choose games which you want to play. Or if you don't have any ideas what a prize can be, then you can ask your students like, okay, guys, what award do you want to get if you complete this challenge? And if you want to use challenges effectively in your lessons, then please remember that they need to be timely. So it needs to be very clear for your students what they need to do and within what period of time. So here, for example, everybody speaks English for 1 week in our classroom. So if you manage to do it, then you will get this prize. Or everybody does homework for a month. Then at the end of the month, you will get a prize. You need to be fair. Okay, and you need to reward your students. If they did it, and if you promised to give an award, then you will need to do it. You need to be very specific. Again, your students need to understand very clearly what they can and what they cannot do. You need to be very consistent, reminding your students again and again that, okay, we've got an arrangement, we want to get a prize. So then please don't forget to speak English. And also these challenges need to be achievable. So your students need to be able actually to do it. You can also give some points or rewards to your students if they do something. So for example, again, if your students do homework or if your students work hard, if your students help others, they can earn some points. And you can create like a prize list for your students. And for example, okay, if they earn 15 points, they can pick a song to start a class. Or if they collect 30 points, they can get 10 minutes to draw on a smart board. So it can be anything. So they can, for example, have no homework for 1 lesson, or whatever you decide with your students. Again, you will not need to use anything extra in your classes. You just stick this poster to a wall, or if you teach online, so you just send this poster to your students, for example, and you just do what you usually do in your lessons, but you don't forget to give extra points for your students, and you allow them to earn some points and get some rewards. And also you can add some competition elements to your lessons. For example, the person who wins a game will get one more point, or will get an extra prize. But please be very careful with competition elements. Because some students can get easily depressed, or can get very upset if they lose a game. And if you have a mixed ability class, so for example, where some students are academically stronger and some students are academically weaker, so it's not really fair, because weaker students will tend to lose like all games which you play in the lessons. So then you can, for example, give an extra point not only to the student who wins the game, but you can give some extra points also for all students who play actively, or who speak English during the game. Then academically weaker students will get more chances to get a result and not be demotivated after the game. So be careful, be fair, and reward all students. To sum it up, so let's have a look at some tips and tricks which will help you use games in your lessons effectively. So first of all, choose games which your students like, not necessarily the games which you like. So sometimes teachers, some teachers, for example, like board games, and they use board games with the students a lot in the lessons. But your students might not like it. So observe your students, see their reaction, or just ask your students what games they like and what games they want to play. So don't forget that your games need to have clear and relevant learning purposes. So you want to practice irregular verbs with your group. You go to GymKid and you find a game on this topic, and you just use it in your lesson. But this game might not be relevant to what your group is learning. So then before you use a game in your lesson, make sure that it's really relevant and it has a clear learning purpose. So if in this game there are some verbs which your students don't know yet, don't use this game. It's better to edit it or create another one. Don't forget to give clear and specific instructions for a game. So for example, in this game, students need to guess the words. And so, for example, students can just start explaining the words to their partner. But the point of the task is to ask questions, to practice asking questions. So you will need to give a very clear instruction for students to understand what exactly they need to practice, and you need to demonstrate how to do it, so that your students can do it effectively. So usually, games can have a rather difficult procedure. So then prepare your instructions in advance and make sure you know how to give instruction and how to demonstrate it to your students. Don't forget about feedback. So after a game, we will need to give feedback on content. Asking our students, okay, so what do you know about your partners? Did you like your this game, or was it easy? Was it difficult for you? So first of all, ask about ideas, ask about impressions. Don't forget about feedback on content. And after that, you can give feedback on accuracy, and you can help your students to correct the mistakes which they made. So don't forget that feedback makes each task more effective. And competition, again, so we need to be careful with that. We have discussed it with you already. So if you follow these tips, then I'm sure that you will use games effectively in your lessons, and your students will benefit a lot. And let's sum it up. So now please share in the chat. So answer the question, what games would you like to try next week with your students? So let's try to remember what we've discussed with you today. And please share your ideas to the chat. So what new games? Games which you didn't know before the webinar. So what new games would you like to try with your students? Either online or offline with your young learners or teenage students or adults. So please share your ideas to the chat. Okay, I can see tic-tac-toe. Great, so let's wait for some more ideas. Let's give you about 30 seconds to type, and then we'll see. Okay, GymKid and Geopardy, Bamboozled. Okay, and also random wheel. Great, running dictation, good. So I'm happy for teachers who have an opportunity to work offline and use all those cool offline games as well. Great. Okay, so thank you so much. You can continue typing, so please share your ideas, share with each other. And while you are sharing your ideas, I want to remind you once again how to get a certificate. And now I will speak English, and I will also translate some of the parts into Ukrainian. So to get a certificate after this webinar, you need you need to make sure that you are registered, and after you register, you will receive the letter with the payment details for the certificate. Після того, як ви зареєструвались на вебінар, ви отримаєте листа з деталями щодо оплати і всією необхідною інформацією для того, щоб оплатити цей сертифікат. Pay for the certificate and send the receipt to the email which you can see on the screen. For our partners, the certificate is free, so you don't have to pay for it. Після того, як ви отримали листа на вашу пошту з інформацією щодо оплати, вам потрібно оплатити сертифікат і обов'язково надіслати чек на пошту електронну, яку ви бачите на екрані. Наші партнери зможуть отримати сертифікат безкоштовно. Також в такому випадку ви отримаєте всю інформацію на пошту. And after the webinar, you will receive a link to complete the test. So you need to get 80 plus points, and this certificate will be sent to your email. Після вебінару ви отримаєте посилання на електронну пошту з тестом, який вам необхідно буде пройти. Якщо ви наберете 80 і більше балів за цей тест, то сертифікат буде надісланий вам на електронну пошту. So, guys, that's it for today. Thank you for staying till the end. Thank you for your ideas in the chat. So I can see so many answers, so many ideas. I hope that this webinar was useful for you. So thanks a lot and have a wonderful evening. Thank you and goodbye.